Hi students, how was the weekend? We are going to start with a very enjoyable unit this week, inshallah. But before we start, let's just go back and revise the last thing that we did in Unit 3. What will they think of next? You had your project. Now the project here was to take a closer look at your neighborhood or an area in your town and think about changes that have been taking place over the last year or two. Now, there were a lot of suggestions, just to remind you that some of them can be related to signs and traffic, projects, schools, public services, the streets and sidewalks, communication. So as I said, these are just suggestions. You may have come up with something even better than this, but as a complete project to compare between two times and how the thing that you have chose changed from one time to another. Now, just mentioning the word communication here, which is the last word here, we can see that communication is related to technology. Now, if you remember that we related between Unit 1 and Unit 2, between teamwork and individual success, because all of them were related to success actually. And then we related between Unit 2 and 3 by mentioning achievements, and they lead to one thing to another, and they move from one time to another, which presented us the idea of what will they think of next. And now I'm going to do the same thing with communication and technology, because actually we have here technology is a very wide field, and it contains a lot of things that we can relate to technology in general. So we have here technology is one topic that is always associated with the future, because it changes from one time to another as we took. And also we have here technology stretches widely and includes many fields. One of them is television. So here I am concerned with television because it is actually the topic that is the main theme that we have here in Unit 4. So if you can see here, for example, these are types of televisions. You can see that they are different from one time to another, which gives us the same message, and the thing that we talked about, that every time has its own kind of technology that changes from time to another. You can see other types also. We have here, this is an old type. This is even older. We can see something more modern. And it will change from one type or one kind. It will just get even different and different, and it will get even more modern. Now, there are questions here, basically because we are opening the topic of TV and televisions. So it is a very different topic from the things that we talked about before. These are personal interests. You may have seen some movies or films, and if you are not a person who watches movies, it's okay. So these are just personal thoughts. Now we have here, what is your favorite TV film? And what is it? What is your favorite actually? So we have here the movies that you see here. What do you see? What are the things that you enjoyed? And note that I'm talking about films, okay? So why? Why did you like it? Why is it your favorite? And then we have here, which of these followings or do you like best? Do you like, for example, animation, comedy, or adventure, and why? So there are many types of movies that we have here. We can say, for example, horror, fictional. You can say, for example, true stories that are related to true people, comedies. Which kind do you like most, and why? Why do you like it? We have also, what's the worst TV film you have ever seen, and why? So this is actually the opposite from the first. What have you seen before and you did not like, and why? You must have your reasons. So sometimes you don't mind seeing something, but after you have seen it, you change your mind, or you just decide not to like it, or it changes your point of view on it. Okay, so we have here, you can guess our new unit, which is going to be, of course, as we said, about TV. And of course, we are now in Unit 4, which is the world of TV. So the world of TV is an interesting topic that we will deal with in our discussions, in the conversation, listening and reading parts, and also in a project, the same as we did as before. We are going to start with our first lesson, which is listen and discuss. Now, your learning objectives here in the lesson are to, we have here to enumerate the film. We have here the types or the kinds that we have here. To give personal thoughts and favorite film types. To understand context through selected words. Recall movie titles and to give the meaning of new vocabulary. So these are the learning objectives that we have. Now let's play a game. We are going to play a game. But before we start here, we have just the words, as usual, that we discussed before we start with our discussion. Now, the words that we have here, the vocabulary, you can just take a minute here and just look at them. Yes, we have the first one, abrupt. Then we have animated. We have prominent, untimely, delusions, capture, prestigious, and the last one, try to read it. We have here, you can divide it a little bit. We have here idiosyncratic. So it's an unusual word here. Okay, so these are the words that we have here in the vocab. Now, let's play the game. The game is going to be to name the TV film. Now, as I said before, some of you may be movie watchers, some are not, so it's okay. But here, I have a point or a goal that I want you just to understand. From the first part, you are going to listen carefully after we just see the pattern, and you are going to guess what the movie is. Of course, you have the lesson is going to be on page number 54 and 55. But just leave the book aside a little bit and try to guess the words or guess the story before you even listen to the whole script. How? Now let's start. We have here, if you can see that I have most of the paragraph is covered. So when we started at the very beginning of the semester, I told you in the introduction that sometimes you can understand the whole context or what the idea is about without even reading every single word. Now here, you have these words. They can guide you and you can guess what the story is even before you listen to the whole script. So just to look at the words that we have here, we have the first one, animated, as we have in the vocab. Andy, a name. Idiosyncratic, also vocabulary. Toys. Woody, a cowboy doll, the toys come to life. Buzz Lightyear, a new toy space ranger. Dislike, compete for Andy's attention. End up supporting each other. So I have some questions for you. First, you can see here names. Can you recall any names? Just from the covered part. And then, what is the basic idea here? What are we dealing with? What is the story around? Is it around cars? Is it around, for example, houses? What is it about? And after you have decided here, you can also see that there are kinds of this thing. What is it? There are many kinds. Also, just from the words that you have here. And what do they end up doing at the end? Okay, so let's start from the beginning. First of all, you have the kind of the movie or the kind of the film. You can see that we have here what kind. It is an animation or an animated one, because from the start we have here animated. Idiosyncratic, we're going to just leave it aside, so maybe you have not still got the idea of it. But we are dealing with something which is toys. And I asked you, what are the kinds that you have here as toys? So you can see here that we have here a cowboy doll. And you can see that there is a new toy, Space Ranger. I asked you also for names. There are 2 names mentioned now. We have here the word Andy, or the name Andy, or actually there are 3 names. We have here Andy, we have Woody, and we have Buzz Lightyear. Also, we have at the end what happens. We can say that there's some kind of action. They dislike each other. Someone dislikes the other, and they compete for Andy's attention. But at the end up supporting each other. So these are the basic details that we have here from the story. So now you understand that it is about toys. The toys have names, and they are different kinds. They compete with each other, and they end up at the end to support each other. So let's listen to the script now, the complete script.
About the story. This animated film is about Andy and his idiosyncratic toys. Andy Davis is a little boy whose favorite toy, Woody, a cowboy doll, coordinates a mission with the rest of the toys to try and find out what presents Andy is getting from his parents before they all move to a new house. What Andy doesn't know is that his toys come to life when there is no one around. When Buzz Lightyear, a new toy Space Ranger, appears, Andy is really taken by him. Woody and Buzz dislike each other intensely as they compete for Andy's attention. But when they get into trouble and nearly get lost during the move, they end up supporting each other in an effort to rejoin the family.
Okay? So have you guessed what is the movie is? Or what is the movie, the name, what is it about? Maybe you have seen it, maybe not, okay? So, but if you have seen it or you are familiar with the details, you can now guess what the title of the movie is. Okay, moving on, we're going to do the same thing. Now you know the idea. Now you can just look at here and see what is the story, what kind of movie is it? And is it about toys also? Can you just take a look? And there was some kind of bad action that happened. Something bad happened. You can just see here. How about the ending? Do you think it is a happy ending or a bad ending? Now, from the words that we have, we can see that our answers are that it is an animated movie. It is not about toys, of course. It is about a lion's cub, not a complete or grown lion. It is about a lion's cub, which, of course, there is some mention of a powerful and wise king. And there was an abrupt end, the vocab. But we can have an idea that it is something bad because the word after it is the bad action that I told you about. There's something that happened, which is murder. So someone is murdered or someone murders someone else, then drives away also. And then exile in the jungle. If you remember in Unit 1, I mentioned in the teamwork that there was a person who was exiled from Italy to South America, and then he teamed up with his wife and they did some kind of movement. Just try to recall. So here, the lion's cub was exiled to the jungle. He was, or it was carefree. Then there was a battle with his evil uncle, which led to reclaim his family throne. So here is the answer for the question that I asked you. Did it have a bad or a good ending? Now we'll listen to the script.
About the story. This animated film presents the story of a lion cub's journey to adulthood. The cub is the son of a powerful and wise king. But his happy childhood comes to an abrupt end when his evil uncle murders his father and drives him away from the kingdom. The young lion goes into exile in the jungle, where he makes two good friends and lives a carefree life. However, as he gets older, he dreams of his father, who tells him to battle his evil uncle and reclaim his family throne.
This is the now to recall if you have seen the movie and what the name of the movie is. Okay, moving to the third, now we have the complete idea about the covered part. Notice that you can answer the questions, you can get the whole idea even if you do not have the whole script in front of you. So also now you can decide what is the movie, what kind of movie is it, and you can see here, is it also about, what kind of character is it? We had toys, we had lions, how about here, what is it? And what happens? So we had the first, or the one before here, it was exiled in the forest, there was a kind of murder, there was a battle, but what happened here? Now there are also actions that happened. You can recall 2 or 3 actions that happened, and what happened at the end. So just to look at the movie here, we have here, it is an animated. We can see that it is about clownfish, which loses his son. Where was the son? A diver captures him and puts him in a tank with other sea creatures. There's something about memory loss to rescue him. And the actions I told you is, for example, travel, running into sharks, getting rides. So these are all adventure actions. And we have here, at the end, there is a plotting for escape and a return. So let's just listen to the whole script.
About the story. This animated film is about Marlin, a clownfish that lives in the Great Barrier Reef. Marlin loses his son Nemo when a diver captures him and takes him to a dentist's office, where Nemo finds himself in a tank with other sea creatures. Marlin sets off with Dory, a blue tankfish with short-term memory loss, to rescue him. They travel a great distance, running into sharks, jellyfish, and whales and getting rides on sea turtles. While Marlin and Dory are trying to get to the dentist's office, Nemo and the other sea animals in the dentist's tank are plotting their escape in order to return to Sydney Harbor and their homes.
Okay? Yes. Now here we have the fourth one. What kind is it? Is it like the first, the second, the third? Is it animated? There is something tragic here, something bad mentioned here. What is it? And there are some details that you can just note. Now, you can see that we have here the kind of movie is documentary. The tragic thing that happened, it is something connected to untimely death. And to make sure of it, also there is a title which is Game of Death that gives you something negative. You can see that it is something connected to life, to a career. It reveals secrets. Why? Because we have the word here, unknown. And we can see also the word rare camera shots. So all of these were a little bit secretive and they are now revealed. And also here we're talking about a person because there is a mention of an attempt to convey his ambitions and the frame of mind. So do you have the same idea like the first, the second, and the third? We'll see here.
About the story. This is a documentary about Bruce Lee's life, career, and untimely death. It reveals a side of Lee unknown to the public, along with the better-known qualities of the celebrity, the man that the world knew. Lee had been working on a new project at the time of his death, ironically titled Game of Death. Rare camera shots have been included in the documentary according to Lee's own script notes in an attempt to convey his ambitions for the project and his frame of mind toward the end of his life.
Okay, so we have here now the next one, which is the last one. You have the same idea here. Now, there is a kind of character that we are talking about. First, we have the word prominent. It is mentioned in the vocabulary, and actually you have taken it before. Now, do you remember that we have Mohammed Abdulatif Jamil? We said that he was a prominent businessman. Are we talking about a businessman here? Are we? And if not, what are we talking about here exactly? And there was a kind of issue. There was a kind of problem. What is the problem that this character has? Also, you can see that there is a mention of another person. Who's the other person? So when you just take an idea from the words that we have here, you can understand that it is a real life story. So it is not animated. It is about a prominent mathematician, scientist in maths, portrays struggle. So this is the problem. We have a portrait struggle, delusions, and mental. There is a mental problem here. Also, we can say that this character has a promising academic career, although he has this problem. And there was a remarkable advancement, and there is something called a game theory. The other person I asked you about was his wife, who stands by him, of course. There was a mention of therapy, and eventually, at the end, he did achieve something very great. You can see here that he achieved a prestigious Nobel Prize. So let's see the script, the whole script.
About the story, based on the real-life story of prominent mathematician John Nash, this film portrays Nash's struggle with his delusions caused by a mental condition. Nash starts a seemingly promising academic career and makes a remarkable advancement in game theory when he begins having delusions and struggles to maintain control over his mental state. His wife, Alicia, stands by him through years of therapy, and he is eventually able to resume his research and goes on to win the prestigious Nobel Prize.
Yes, okay, so this is a true story for a person. We have here John Nash, and also, have you guessed the name of the movie or not? So at the end, we have here these movies. If you have guessed them and you want to just check them, you can find them in the page. We have here page number 55. You will find the answers. They are upside down. You can just check your answers if they are true or not true. This is the exercise that we have that is associated to the words we have just passed by. Now I'm going to give you a chance, because here it is different. It's not like connecting meanings. We have here just the blanks. So your assignment is to read the sentences, highlight keywords, and try to understand more. You can go back to the text. You can also read here and try to see which one goes in each space and which is suitable for which one. So this is going to be your assignment. And also, here we have some questions that I'm going to pass by very quickly, because these are main questions. They are not related to the stories that you just passed by. So number one, which TV films use fictional characters? Now you know that fictional characters like Nemo, like the Lion Cub, like the first one, the dolls, they are not real. So we have here fictional is something imagined or not true. Which kind of movies use these characters? So we can say animated, science fiction, and fantasy films. The second question, in which TV films are there characters who are allies? So we have here allies are, okay, so they are like two teams. Okay, so there can be some kind of problem at the beginning. They can team up together. It depends on the story that we have here and how the story moves on. but mainly you can see these types of stories or characters in war films and sci-fi films. In which TV films do the characters take a journey? So it depends on the kinds of journeys that we have. There's not just one kind of journey, but mainly we can see these adventures or the journeys, they are taken in adventure or documentary films. Then we have the fourth question. Which TV films are biographical? So they are connected to biography, which is associated to a real person or a real character. So we have here documentaries, biographical drama, and epic films are all associated with biographies. So at the end, in pairs, you can create your own clues for 1 or 2 TV films or documentaries you have seen. Read the clues to your class and see if they can guess the film or the documentary. So you can actually do the same thing that I have. You can just choose a story and then just give hints. You can give pictures. You can use the same way that I did with you. It depends on your creativity. So you can enjoy this one with your class. Now, our outline of the day is that we discussed film types, of course. We had to understand context through words and define vocabulary. So we did the same. When we covered up the parts, we tried to understand the whole story and also to define vocabulary. And then we guessed the names of the films and also discussing film types. So in general, these are the parts that we did today. Now, as I told you at the beginning, it is a very enjoyable unit that you will enjoy. And when you do your assignment, also think about something creative and some movies that are very popular and could be discovered very easily. So enjoy.